Welcome, welcome, viewing several. It's episode 31 of my little series I like to call Hands Up Who Loves a Train Set? Me. So today I'm looking at my newly acquired Hornby acHO. Now, what's this? Well, it's made by Meccano in Paris, so the French Meccano. These were launched in like 1960 by the old Meccano Hornby, and they would have gone alongside their acHO stuff. So it came out after the two-rail acHO came out, and made in France. It's really lovely. It's acHO scale. The other thing is, it carried on until about 1971 or something like that. So it goes over into the Triang ownership of Hornby. And I have seen sets that have Triang acHO on them. But I'm assuming this set first appeared in the 1960 catalogue as set 620 or Le Picard, which was and it's this one, the bottom one, with the locomotive vapeur or steam train, the refrigerated van, and a couple of other wagons. So it comes in a very similar box to the Hornby stuff. So you get blue for acHO and red for O scale, O gauge, and the Meccano France stuff is in green. So that's nice. There's no markings about the date on it or anything like that. There's no model number. Now I know that sometime in the mid-60s this set was in all of the catalogues throughout the 60s, but at some point it changed to 6200 rather than 620, but I don't know whether... I've got no way of knowing the vintage of this exactly, but I'm assuming it's early 60s. So we'll have a look inside. Ta-da! Right, here we are. This is inside. So you'll notice that it does come with some things to know for the good functioning of your locomotives. So it gives you some instructions in here about how to connect the power. The interesting thing is it comes with a little bag of what I can only describe as bits. And what they turn out to be is they're little clips that hold the rails together reliably. So when I was setting it up, I forgot about those, and obviously with some of these older rails it can sometimes be a bit difficult to keep the circle true. So these would make a huge difference. I do wonder whether some of the other French sets I've got had those originally and they've all just been lost, because it's a really good system. You clip those in. Now I didn't do it when I set it up because I forgot, but the track was fine, so it's not too bad. So going through the book, you can see it shows you a power clip there. I didn't get one with my set, and I don't know whether it did come with one, and it shows you some information about to service. So this is my one. So I dismantled it, and exactly like this, and I clean the commutator, give it some oil, and it tells you there's a couple of little bulbs in the front because it's got lamps on the front buffer beam, which you'll see later on, and it just gives some general advice. And then there's a little guarantee slip that you could fill in at the time and tear it out and post that off. So very nice. So starting with the track, is it the same as Hornby 002 rail? Well, it looks as though it probably is. It says R381 Hornby acHO, made in France, Meccano. So I will say that it is pretty much compatible with modern Hornby track, because I used a couple of Hornby short straights with it. Now the Hornby is code 100, and this I think is slightly higher rail, so it's probably code 100 and something, because there was a little bump, but it's perfectly usable. So when I set it up in the next section, I actually used some Hornby straights, mainly because I wanted more than just this is just a circle of track, and I wanted a couple of short straights, but partly because I didn't have a power clip, so I thought I would use the Hornby straight with the power clip. So the locomotive, well, it's really rather heavy. It's a prairie configuration, so a 262, and this is a class 131, which were made in 1925, and the real ones. You may be able to see there's some little bulbs in the front lamps, which is quite a nice little touch. On the bottom we've got made in France, Meccano, acHO, Hornby acHO, and they've capitalised the acHO in Hornby and in the acHO as well. It was kind of part of the brand. But yeah, it weighs a lot, but that is because where the tanks are, it's got some quite heavy weights in there. This body is actually plastic, and the motor, it looks just like a Triang XO4. You'll see when I open it up. So I don't know whether actually don't know whether Hornby had those motors. I think it was a Triang motor. So this could be after the Triang takeover. I don't really know. All I could find is it's in the 1960 catalogue, and it's in the 1971 catalogue. By the time we get to 1971, of course, the model railway side of the French Meccano catalogue is taking a back seat to the slot racing, and they're even selling Triangs, the horse racing kind of slot racing set as well, and that takes up the first half of the catalogue. But in the 60s, it's just the model railways. So what do we get wagon wise? Well, they're quite nice. Hornby acHO Meccano, made in France. And they've got what look like metal axles with plastic wheels. They've got these couplings, which seem to work pretty well. It's a decent weight of wagon. That, I don't know, it must have some metal between the chassis and there, because that is quite a nice weighted wagon, considering it's only a low-sided one. This is your classic refrigeration van. I think every French goods set has one of these, and they make them, like Märklin make them, Pico make them. Most of the European manufacturers make a Steph refrigeration van, and obviously this is Meccano France, their version. I'm not sure if that roof has faded or if it was meant to be like that. You can see it's sort of like stippled, like it's been sprayed with just a really thin coat. Again, it's a nice heavy wagon. Got the ladders on it. I mean, it's pretty decent. And then we've got this one, which is I forget what they call it. It's just like a metal mineral tipper kind of wagon. Again, it's decent quality wagon, good weight to it. It's very much like, it's very, very similar to the 00 plastic wagons of the early 60s. But yeah, so I don't really know whether Meccano France was entirely, whether they obviously made their own things and they had their own tooling. So it's not the same as the 00 stuff, but some of the catalogues would sell the English 00, and then later on when Triang bought it, they had Triang's products in the catalogues alongside these. So in the second half of the 60s, you'll see this set in the catalogue, and it will be alongside Battle Space, and then in some of the earlier catalogues you might see some of the double O stuff. So it's difficult to know exactly because there is some information on the HRCA website. So I've done a bit of digging around, but it's a very nice set. This, I do like it a lot. So I'm going to run it, and I'm going to run it on this track, and I'm going to just put a couple of these in because for a power connector. This is a modern Hornby, and modern Hornby 601 straight, whatever it's called. So it is loosely compatible, and it's enough to get the power to it without me having to dig around. The problem with using those power clips is that they don't always. You got to shove. Sometimes you have to clip them either side. It looks like this one. You don't push it between the rail and the sleepers. It's one that clips either side. I've probably got one of those somewhere, but to be honest with you, it's just easier to use one of those. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it up, and we're going to run it, and we're going to use a Gauge Master controller. So let's see what it's like, shall we? Right, it's running. You can see the front lamps work, so that's good. Go the other way. I think that's adequate performance for now, so I've just cleaned the commutator. I'm giving it a bit of oil. So there we go. Right, we're on the track, and as we're sort of in France, I've got a can of Stella. So, obviously I've got my English background picture up there just to cover up the dirty wall, and I've also, because this radius is slightly the same size as this desk really, it's about 80 centimetres, which is the depth of this desk, I've had to use my cantilever method. The other cheat that I've done is I've put 2 bits of Hornby track, 2 short straights, for 2 reasons. One, just to give it an oval, and 2, so I can connect the power to it. I didn't get a clip, and I didn't want to mess about. I've got a box of clips I could probably use, but I thought, wow, I'll just put a couple of things in. But it is the track that came with the set, so that's good, because as much as I like to run it on the modern track, it's kind of cheating a little bit. So I was going to set up the modern track as well and give it a run on that. I suspect it will be a bit smoother, but actually I think it's sufficient to run it on here. So I'll just top this up, and then we'll get it going. So that gives us our French flavour, the Stella. Right, here we go. So we'll start off slow, just to speed up a bit because of the radius. It won't go too slow around there. Now the Hornby track is code 100, and there's a tiny step up when it goes into the acHO track, but it's compatible enough. So it's rather cool that it's got the front lamps on it. I think it's pretty good. Maybe we could dip that light in just to show the lamps a bit better. There we go, and we'll speed up to full. It should stay on, but we'll see. Yeah, it's a little bit hairy around that straight bit there. we're back in daylight. Go the other way. So the lights are not directional, but you know, this is a 1960s strain. So I don't really know much about these, but it's pretty nice quality. You know, the wagons and everything. The train itself is plastic body, and in the side tanks there's quite a bit of weight, so it's a really heavy locomotive, but it's mainly big bits of heavy metal inside where the tanks are. It's got what looks like an acHO 4 motor inside it, so I don't know if that was a Hornby motor. I know that's a trying motor, but it looks very much like a trying motor. Now, when Triang took over Meccano, they were still making these in Paris. So I don't know. Maybe it is a trying motor. The later sets were labelled Meccano Triang. Some of them. Now this set appears in the catalogue in 1960, and it's in all of them. It's the good set, and it's called Le Picard. The locomotive is a 131. These were built in the 1920s, and some of them have been preserved. But it's actually really nice. It runs pretty well, and you know, I had to get a Meccano France acHO set for my collection. It's about as slow as it will go, I think. Let's see if it will go round at that speed. So, I think you'll agree that's pretty nice. I'm pretty pleased with it. I can't remember what the hammer price was now. I think it was about, what was it? 60, 70 quid, I think. I was bidding on a couple of other ones. I was bidding on one with the one you can see on the front of the box there with the electric Loco, and the passenger, coaches. But I didn't know how much they were going to go for, and in the end I thought, well, I really only need one for my collection. And the other one was up to 105, and I sort of bailed out, and I thought I'll just get this one. And I was bidding on the O gauge Hornby set that I showed in the number 30 set, which I showed in episode 30, which was pure chance because I lost count of the episodes. But yeah, that's really nice. So what I'm going to do now, I'll do some closer shots. So we'll imagine that it's the backdrop isn't very French, but